Hello, dear viewer. Welcome to KSP to Mars. I'm Lorenzo. This is episode 55, and what you're looking at is our first actual spaceship. And why do I call it the first actual spaceship? Because this is fusion powered, has big engines, and can go places. The other things are more aptly described by being thin cans of barely reasoned madness. Yeah. So this is a spaceship. There's no one aboard because launching it proved difficult. If you've seen last episode, you saw some rockets explode through demonic interference, or, well, we could call it pilot error, but let's go with demonic interference. I did manage to finally launch this thing with a launcher that did not disintegrate. It was the same one, and I figured something was wrong because, well, as soon as I tried to steer, it would completely shake itself horribly, unphysically and messily apart. And what I figured out in the end was that these heat radiators, they don't play nice with the dynamic fairings I use. And well, I didn't do anything to fix it. I just, with many attempts, managed to steer clear of that minefield and get this into orbit. It was the basic profile from the last episode where we launched it into a high elliptical trajectory, suborbital, and then use the pulses from the nuclear drives, the fusion drives here, to round out that orbit. And to that end, we now have an orbit of about 1,000 kilometers by 1,000 kilometers. And what we're going to do today is we're sending up a Mars vehicle that will land in multiple spots and return to this mothership. Now, to do that, of course, it first needs to get up from Earth, and we will do that using conventional rockets because, remember, these fusion babies are expensive. At least that's what I decided, and we don't have the power generators necessary to power them continuously. So first things first is to reduce the orbit of this thing again to, well, basically as low as possible. I'm thinking about a 150, 200-ish kilometer orbit to, well, make it as easy as possible for the launcher to deliver its payload to this station. What we have, of course it's not a station, what we have here is fuel tanks with only liquid fuel in it, and that is what these engines need. They don't need oxidizer, so it didn't bring it. But our moonlander is going to use a Nerva fission nuclear engine, and that does require oxidizer. So it's bringing along an extra tank to, well, bring its own top up of fuel. I didn't think that completely through, so at some point we're going to have to resupply this spaceship, and then we're also going to bring oxidizer for the mated landing crafts. For now though, let's do a pulse burn. If you didn't watch the previous episode, the power supplied by these reactors is not sufficient for continued fusion burning. So we pull up the resources tab, and you can see there's a whole lot of resources. And as soon as we light the engine, you're going to see megajoules and thermal power drop. And when they drop, the lasers powering the fusion engines won't fire anymore, and the engines will stop. And because we have two engines, they will stop a fraction of a second apart, and we'll get a spaceborne flat spin sort of thing. So I want to prevent that. So pulling up the orbital display here, lighting these engines, and let's see how that gets. So I'm now taking care of the periapsis height and the power here. So 200 kilometers I think is fair. Now, oh yeah, the thermal power is used to generate megajoules, so I was a bit scared because that was still dropping, but the reactors are doing their thing nicely. Wonderful. So now we can fast forward to that periapsis and then round our now lowered orbit. For the next burn, I'm going to do that at a lower throttle setting for increased efficiency, because these engines, if you burn them slower, well, not slower, but if you burn them at less thrust, they're actually more efficient. They require the same amount of power here. So the burn length will be the same, but the total fuel used, at least the liquid fuel used, will be lower. So that's good. Even though we still have lots and lots of delta V here, we have 16 kilometers per second, which should be plenty to go to the moon, do some plane changes there if we want to, and then return here to Earth and then do more stuff. We only need to top up our liquid fuel reserves, and then we are good to go. Again, this is the beauty of the Prometheus, our first actual spaceship. and that is why I am happy with it. Of course, it's currently unmanned because its launch was all but a sure thing, and well, after the 2 stowaways that died while stowing away aboard the first prototype, we decided to launch it unmanned for the next run. So the Moonlander, that's going to go up manned, and then there will be a lone pilot that will clamber aboard this spaceship, and then when he's at the moon, get back into his lander. That's the plan at any rate. We'll see in a bit whether that works out. First though, reducing the orbit here, and we're going to do so at half thrust. I'm going to sneak a peek. At this thrust level we have 30 kilometers per second of delta V. So if we're patient, we can go a lot farther, as is the case with many things in life, I think. So that's good. Of course, now that our power is running out, we see that we didn't quite get it. So yeah, if we burn at a lower rate, more efficient, less thrust, more patience required. That does mean that if we do ever get into a real situation with this craft, we can just burn at a minuscule amount, and with lots and lots of patience, which you have if you're screwed, then we can probably get out of it. I'm going to burn at a very low setting and see what delta V that gives us. Only 40. Only 40 kilometers per second of delta V. Oh, I can tease it up to 60, but that way, ooh, look at that. There I run out of power, then it starts moaning about how the fusion core cannot be contained. I've never pushed that to the brink, but I think it's best not to do so because uncontained fusion cores, I can't say I've got experience with it, but my gut feelings say it's not good. So let's finish up this orbit. Full thrust, no patience. Screwing up lives here. Okay, 200 by 280, that should be rendezvousable by the Icarus, our lunar lander that I'm going to send up now. I will see you when that is in an interesting position. And here we have the Icarus to the Prometheus. This is the landing vessel, the Moonlander. 2 side fuel tanks with landing legs, the big ones, the new ones. A traditional fission-powered thermal nuclear rocket engine, and of course the upper stage that put it here. We have here a spare fuel canister. It has docking ports on both sides. This is going to slot into the Prometheus, which will then allow the Icarus to, well, come back to it and refuel should that be necessary. It has 2 disposable science pods. These are the one-off science units. They have decouplers here, and it has a reusable graviolometer and the temperature sensor here on this side. Of course, solar panels for that little bit of power. I think, yeah, I even got an antenna, and of course the lander module to sit in. Last minute I added 2 small canisters of monopropellant and 2 RCS blocks. They are not for attitude control. They are solely to be used for docking, for undocking from the Prometheus, because once we're slotted in this way, we don't have thrust to reverse, and we can't use the Prometheus to thrust away because the neutron flux will kill us. Well, if there is a guy in here anyway, so we're not using that. These RCS thrusters are just for that crucial moment that would otherwise be impossible. And if we bring up the HUD, we can see that I have put us at 2.3 kilometers from the Prometheus, so we can now commence docking operations. What I was thinking about was to first dock this whole assembly so we could use the oxidizer from the launch stage, but I've decided against that. For one reason, because, well, there's only about 77 units of it left, and also because this is a pretty unwieldy contraption to dock in between 2 fusion reactors and, well, two fusion engines powered by fission reactors. So let's go ahead and undock this, and we can go and set up our rendezvous. Well, our rendezvous has been set up. We can go ahead and do our docking. That's what I'm on about. This is a bit ungainly. I did put RCS control on this, but I want to save that for, well, if and when we need it. For now, I'm just going to thrust using the nuclear engine towards the Prometheus. Of course, same reason for the undocking RCS thrusters. The Prometheus, as soon as we get within 2 kilometers, is not allowed to use its fusion engines, because that would fry Hudgun, our, brave astronaut, spaceship pilot, and lunar lander, all in one, hopefully. So, of course, the Prometheus is allowed to turn, so we're going to do standard docking procedure, get close, and then have the, the recipient dockee turn around to face us properly, and then we can slot right into it. Could have said her, but that would have been dirty. No, not doing that. This will take a few minutes again because I'm going to take it nice and slow, which I will cut out so see you closer to the Prometheus. And there we have it, hovering a safe 50 meters away from the Prometheus, just slowly swinging around to, well, do the alignment. And of course the alignment matters, but it matters in two axes now because, well, this is wider than it is, wide. No, there should be another word for that. This is wider in one direction than in the other direction. This is wider than it is thick. Anyway, you get it. It's like a sheet, so it will fit when these two are rotated out of the plane with the Prometheus reactors, but not the other way around. So we have to take extra care. So locking the attitude here, and now switching to the Prometheus. What you do then is you hit Control from the docking port. That makes the nav ball, well, the nav ball relative to the docking port, and then you look for your target. So that one. Set that as a target, and then you look to the nav ball to find the target and rotate your ship to face it. Because the ship is because the nav ball is now painted from this docking port, if you do that properly and your ships aren't too large, so the center of mass isn't too far away from your control point, you end up with a pretty decent lineup. It's not perfect because when you do it from the one end, it's in a different position after you do it from this end. But if you repeat this a few times, then you should end up with a workable orientation. And especially if your ships are a little bit easier, which maybe have the docking port just on the front or on the side, not obstructed by, well, radiators and nasties, then it should be fairly easy going. And of course the key is to take everything nice and slowly. So put it straight on that target marker and then hit SAS and wait a few seconds to see if the system is capable of stabilizing it. Now you can also cheat, this looks to be fine, but if you hit the time warp button like one tap 5 times and just go back immediately, all the rotational movement will have been gone. Of course, if you do that, do disable the SAS system, because otherwise as soon as you come out of time warp, SAS will do its own thing again and set your ship moving. This is actually going to be a problem. I think I'm going to do a better job myself for killing the movement. Yeah, I think that's pretty much killed it. So now we're going to hand it back to the SAS again, and hopefully that will just stay put. Switching back to the Icarus, and you can see the alignment is slightly off, but not by a lot. So we can just repeat that again. Control from the control port, target this one. And now, of course, we also have to rotate the ship to fit in between. Because like this, we will crash. But like this, I hope this works, by the way, because I have not tried it. It just seemed like a good idea to make them fit like this. Yeah, okay, let's see about approaching. We will approach at 0.4 meters per second and have the RCS standing by to slow us right down if everything goes inevitably wrong. My plan now is to hover just outside these engines and then switch back to the Prometheus to make the fit better. So I'm going to give it a little bit of time warp because this slow approach is even slow at these distances of dozens of meters. I think we can all tell that this is not going to work out completely well. So I'm going to stop, just as I said, a few meters outside those Vista fusion engines. Right, so that's coming to a full stop. Let's orient ourselves this way again. Locking the SAS in place there, and let's see about rotating so that we will fit in between those fusion engines, fit snugly. I think this should be good. What do you think? Should we rotate? I think we're good. I'm just going to go for it. Yeah. So 0.2 meters per second. Why not? More seems ambitious. We are coming in at a little bit of an angle, like maybe 1 degree. And I think for Hudgen, these big barrels of fusion engines will look slightly scary from where he is sitting. I think this is going to go well. I think this is going to go well. Do we dare accelerate to 0.3 meters per second? I do not. I don't want to accelerate. Let's steer. I am wondering now, why did I ever make them fit so snug? Why did I design it like this? I had a choice. I didn't have to do it. I think we're going to hit that fusion drive. I'm going to stop and rotate the Prometheus after all, because you can see it's a little bit off center. So we set this as a target. We control from there, and we're just going to ever so slightly rotate. Let's keep it there. I think that way we should be able to just get in there. And now if we feel, if the computer operating this craft feels vengeful, it can just blast the fusion drives and just kill Hudgun cold. So we're not going to do that. We are instead going to come in for a nice docking. Yeah. No nuclear engine burning. I don't trust to do that now. Just RCS buffs. Let's have a look. I think we're coming in fine. Just through. Oh, drifting a little bit off to the side, but not by too much. I think we will be fine. Go on. Don't hit them. Oh god, this is precision steering. I hope the collision meshes do line up with the engines. Oh, another lesson, I think. No, the orientation does matter. I was going to say it doesn't matter at all because this tank is long enough, but yeah, that orientation would have mattered. We would have hit the fusion engines. And this pod is going to be a decidedly hazardous place to be when these fusion engines light. Okay, we have connection. Go on, thrust forward a little bit just to set up the docking. Go on. Yes! There we have it, and I dare say that's a perfect docking. We are attached, and now of course we have to EVA Hudgun over to his cupola module. I think maybe the game logic will say he's safe in this pod anyway, but I don't buy it. So, who was looking ecstatic that he made it? He did not believe that. Can you see his face? Wonderful. Alright, lights on, let go, and the Prometheus and Icarus combination vessel is ready to depart for the moon. Look at that big engine. Should be safe to pass as long as there's no fusion going on. And I am quite happy with this spaceship, but uh-oh, don't hit the heat radiator. The orientation of this Kerbal is causing me problems. No. Stop it! Go on. Yeah, like that. It doesn't always agree with me with which way should be up for the EVAs, so that makes it a bit hard at times. But we're going to get into the station, into the nicely. I've never used the cupola module before because it's just for nice aesthetic and it's heavy. It weighs like 4 or 5 tons. But hey, we have fusion drives now, so we get away with the extra mass, so that's good. Hey, well, at least his EVA mishap gave us the opportunity to look at this. Go on, where's the entrance hatch for this? Does it even have an entrance hatch? Oh yeah, there. So that was quite a bit of time spent on the docking procedure. Usually I cut them out, but this was going to be an interesting one because of all the, well, because of the tight fit, and I think we did that well. So he's inside. Let's have a look at that cupola module in vehicle. Look at that. What does that say? I can't tell. Well, it's not the best view ever because, well, we're just pointing out into space, but there we have the sun, and, well, he should be happy in this control box. Alright, let's see how this vessel behaves now under burn, and give it a slight kick to its orbit, and then afterwards we'll set up a rendezvous with the moon. It does seem as though the lander is behaving. It's not jiggling. It's not being terrible. It seems as though everything is fine. It's got a good connection to the ship, and it's not swiveling, swerving, being a pain to the engines. Right. Hopefully we don't char everything off this vessel. That would be a little bit disappointing, but let's go and give that burn a go. Oh, of course we can disable this one now. We don't quite need that. Just fusion power, please. Here it goes. And we have 28 meters per second of 28 kilometers per second of delta V. It's of course because of the extra fuel that we have just docked to the craft. Not all of that is for the fusion drive, but well, in a pinch we can of course use that. Our thrust to weight is 0.04. No, that's not right. We're accelerating at like 2 Gs. I don't know why it says that. The Kerbal Engineer, it's compatible, it works, but it's not quite compatible with the KSP Interstellars. Not all sometimes the engines have to be coaxed into actually giving their reports, actually displaying the proper thrust to weight ratio. So it's not perfect, but it does work. So this works fine. We can pulse burn just like we used to, except with this one attached. I'm going to set up a transfer to the moon and do that, and I'm not going to show you that. If you really, really want to see it, lodge a request and I might, but I think there's nothing special going to happen in that bit. Yeah. Let's have a look at our nice fusion craft, and next time round we'll have the moon in the background, just like this. So, and here do we have Hudgen Kerman, our brave astronaut that will explore the moon multiple times over, breaking into a lunar orbit. Let's see what that looks like now. Perfectly fine, and we have a good inclination going. Not as extreme as to go completely polar, but enough to, well, get a good breadth and width and a decent reach over the moon, with the possibility of time warping to let the surface scroll under us. Now, I made a list of the surface samples that we already had recovered. They are from the East Crater, the Highlands, the Midlands, the Northwest Crater, and the Polar Crater. So we would ideally want to land in any biome but that one. So I'm going to grab my gravioli sensor and have a look what we're flying over. Mons Midlands, yeah, we have that. So we don't care for that. I'm going to shut down the fusion reactor just to conserve a little bit of fuel. We don't need that, and these can be restarted at will. We have also reached our waste heat equilibrium point, at least with the reactors at 25% and the fusion plant shut down. The waste heat will stabilize at this level, so that's good. We have a little bit of headroom, well, a lot of headroom actually, so that if and when we fire the reactors, the heat can build and, well, we won't melt. If we were to run these reactors at 100% perpetually, these radiators would not be enough. But for this, the baseline, it is enough. So another reason, well, actually the only reason for the pulsed nature of this craft. Right, so now it is up to us. I'm going to just go ahead and assume that we will pass over a useful biome with this course, and well, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to time warp until I'm sure. And my best bet here is going to be, I think, these craters. And while we're not quite immediately over the crater, but Mons Highlands, damn it. I wonder if this here is. I think we're going to pass over the Northwest Basin, and we did get the sample there, but then I think the lander crashed or something. Anyway, that did not get home. So let's have a look here. Trying to find a landing site for our wonderful nuclear-powered lander. Midlands again. That's not very nice. What do we have here? I wanted to show you the decoupling of the ship and the acquisition of a landing zone, but if it's just going to be Midlands again, then that's not much fun, is it? Polar Crater, yeah, we did have that one, so we can safely skip that and see where we end up now. For once, I did bring landing lights on the lander, so we can land in the dark, especially with the flight engineer and those lights. That should work out fine. Of course, it won't be so aesthetically pleasing to do so, but well, science trumps those concerns. One problem is that I can't really pick out the surface features that will allow me to recognize the biome again if I were to pass over it twice. Well, so far we're only grabbing midlands and highlands. Not the most fortunate orbit to shoot randomly into. Let's have a look what we get here. Midlands again. Damn it, that is annoying. I want something different. What do we get here? Highlands, well, that's useless also. Are you kidding me? Is it just going to mid and highlands? Well, in that case, the inclination of our orbit will work to our advantage, where we will time warp a few days. Yeah. Of course, it's not a complete full resolution scan this way, but well, I want to go pretty well over the biomes that I'm going to try and land in, because otherwise I'm going to have a tough time pinpointing it. Of course, my lander is nuclear powered, so that means that the slowing down will take a long time. So, the moon has rotated under us a bit. Let's see where we are now. Incidentally, we do have a bit more tritium as well. That takes a long time. We have generated 0.62 units of it now in this time warp bit. Actually, that doesn't take so long at all. That is quite expedited generation. For instance, if we were to burn all of it on an interplanetary trajectory, the wait times there are so long that the entire conversion should have happened on the way. So that means we just have to bring more deuterium. I did notice that the deuterium tanks I put on the ship were in fact helium-3 tanks, which, well, is a stupid mistake. But fortunately, we have enough deuterium for operations here in the Kerbal system. Let's see, this crater doesn't have any flags or anything in it, so that might be an interesting candidate. It will be annoying terrain with the darkness, the crater rims, and that stuff. Highland craters, we don't have that. So we're going to try and land in this area. Now obviously we are going to do that on the next pass over, because we will need some time to decelerate on our nuclear engine. So let's see. Ooh, this apoapsis is still higher than I thought it would be. I thought we were in a 300 by 300 circular orbit. So let's see. We can make our approach be like this. Yeah, we can make it like this and then slow down there. This is a burn of only 100 meters per second. And for that end, of course, I'm not going to do that with the nuclear ship. Well, they're all nuclear ships these days, but I'm not going to do that with the fusion ship, because, well, that would be suicidal. I'm going to instead undock this one here. And I didn't put Hudgen in it yet, because now I can use the fusion drive to give that one last flood of radiation before we EVA over there. So let's do that. Oh dear, it's going faster than I was anticipating. Fortunately, didn't thrust on full throttle there. Look at that, he's riding the fusion ship like a true boss. And he is going to get over to that other... Ooh, don't go too near the radiators. They are radiating many megawatts of heat. Fortunately, his EVA suit can deal with that pretty darn well. So we're going to give this lander a test run. Now it does have batteries, but it doesn't have any nuclear power generation. Of course it does when the engines are firing, so our lights and control systems should work when we are descending, but you know, this is a more basic craft than that splendid Prometheus over there. So let's reset that maneuver node, and what we can also do is tweak our heading a little bit, so that, well, that adds a lot to the delta V. We can tweak it a little bit so that we will get closer to that crater, which is of course the point. Yeah, I think this is a trajectory that can be considered reasonable and maybe even a little bit safe. I wonder. So let's turn this around. These decouplers, they should never fire, at least not until I tell them to. They are the disposable science decouplers. So I'm going to activate this engine through the context menu just to be sure. Orient the ship properly. And then say goodbye to the Prometheus, and hopefully we will see that relatively soon. Our thrust to weight ratio there is 2.3, which is enough for landing obviously, but not terribly high. So just as in a previous landing, we will be doing that very, very gradually indeed. Now I'm going to do this maneuver and proceed with the rest of the planned landing, and then I will cut in the video when something interesting happens on that front. So we are here at 15 kilometers over the terrain, and if you would fold up your stable trays, raise your seats to the upright position and prepare for landing. Managed to get a gravioli reading of the far side crater, for which shockingly we didn't have a gravioli reading yet, and radioed that home, and the remainder is waiting in the sensor for Hadgar Kerbery, I'm pretty sure that's not his name, but for the guy, that's our pilot, that's currently obscured by the readout window, to take that data into the pod for later retrieval. We are working on our descent. We have 130 meters per second of vertical speed, 10 kilometers of altitude left, and according to the readout, we will hit ground in about 55 seconds. Now I'm doing about half a G of acceleration on this engine currently, so that should give me enough time to decrease this speed. If I let this go down to about 30, my back of the envelope in-head calculation of half a G times 30 seconds means that that is about, well, 140 meters per second. So if I do it now, of course that's not taking into account that the distance covered will reduce while the speed is dropping, so that is an automatic safe margin. Yeah, that's about the exact amount of time. It's staying constant, so I think that tells me that my calculation was about good. About good, yeah. So landing mostly on instruments today because there is not a lot of sun out. The sun is just over the horizon, so it's enough to illuminate the spaceship, but not much else. I have the lights here. They are on. Oh, look, there's the Earth in the sky, which of course, as discussed previously, is not really the sky, but more the area above the airless ground. Yeah. So nothing much more to say apart from that. Well, the idea of hopping all over the moon, oh dear, it has happened again. While talking, I have been neglecting my readouts, so hopefully we will not crash. We're at 700 meters now. Yeah, there's the first thing of a terrain. A thing of a terrain, I mean a rock, of course. Yeah, I'm going to shut up now and do the landing. You should see the lights illuminate the surface in short order. Yeah, there they are. Oh, look how handy those lights are. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? Yes, it is. What the hell was that tilting over just before the landing? Anyway, we made it. We are on the ground. We can close down the flight engineer and extend our solar panels for when it becomes light, when it becomes day again. That will take several days. But when that happens, well, we will have the solar panels. Anyway, what I was going to say while I was descending and getting afraid I was forgetting everything again was that, well, the idea of hopping all around the moon, the lunar surface, is not quite going to happen. I thought this lander had 8 kilometers per second of delta V. Turns out it had only about 7, and we spent 2.5 of that landing. Well, we'll need about 2 more to get back into orbit. That leaves us with 2.5, which is actually not half bad, for hops. So my plan is to make one big one, expend about 1 kilometer per second jetting off in a certain direction, and then spend 1.5 to, well, land again I think that's fair because our landing from orbit took 500 delta V more than orbital velocity. So if I take again 500 meters for a suborbital hop, that should probably work. And then we'll have more than 2 left to get back into orbit and then rendezvous with with the ship. We do need to leave a little bit of rendezvousing fuel in the spacecraft because of course we can't really rendezvous with the Prometheus because that doesn't go backwards, it only goes forwards. Right, so it's time to do science, of course. Mystery goo observation from the surface here. We will take that data, and we are in the far side crater incidentally, which is of course interesting to know. Observe the materials bay. We shall take that data and be happy with it. And as I said, the gravity sensor already has data in it, as does the temperature sensor. So I'm going to grab that first. EVA that guy. And we're going to do it at night because I don't want to wait all the days for the moon to get into... Oh dear, he falls. We have lights and we have some lights on the suit as well. And this guy is not afraid in the dark, fortunately. So EVA report here. We're going to keep that. And we are of course going to plant a flag. This was the far side crater. I'm also going to write that down. Far side. I hope that someday these flags will help in navigating the moon should we do so again. So a surface sample, obviously. 120, we're going to keep that, and now it's time to collect the science from these sensors. Now of course that's going to be just a little bit trickier because we'll have to do that while flying in the air. And before I'm going to do this again, I'm going to quit out the game and disable sticky keys. Yeah, I do learn from my mistakes. Right, that's done. I think it's done. I hammered my shift key on the keyboard until my fingers were bloody and nothing happened, so that should be alright. Okay, onwards to science. Go on, go on. Oh, I have to click it while I'm near it. Alright, this is very nice. Wish I was an FPS guru now. Ah, damn it. I just don't have the mouse accuracy. I'm a simulation guy, damn it. I want to think and do strategy, not click tiny pixels in split-second accuracy. Okay, again for the gravioli sensor. And these NASA guys, they think they have difficult EVAs? Jesus. Right. Of course, we also want to get the materials bay here. This is easier because it's larger. And I'm just assuming that our lander has enough... Oh Jesus, I'm assuming I have enough EVA propellant, and I do. I'm assuming our lander is robust enough so that I can just kind of rub up against it while trying to get the science. I'm already half through my EVA jet. What am I doing? I can stand on top of this! Oh, not if I hit my face. I don't have to do it in the horrible way, I can just stand on top of it. Jesus. Right, great realizations here. Wonderful. This is definitely easier. Remove that data, and of course also this data. There we go. Now I'm going to leave the modules attached for now, because obviously otherwise the craft is going to be unbalanced. But as soon as... Oh, yeah, I'm not being an EVA wizard right at this time. What I want to do now is to get back into the capsule, into the ship. Oh, that was a little bit too rough. Fortunately, these spacesuits are very, very durable. Yeah. I want to get back into the capsule. Oh Jesus, this guy is falling on his face so often. I want to get back into the capsule to store the science and then get surface bound science from the gravity and temperature modules. Yeah, we're going to do this again. So that's a lot of science in there. And now from the controls, let's order up some more. Here we go, logging the gravity data. Keep that. And of course, going to log this. Keep that as well. And now he has to go and get them. Yeah. So that's one more acrobatics. Fortunately, we do have some tanks of monopropellant, so we can do this at different landing sites without really running into the monopropellant storage problem that could otherwise have materialized. Let's turn the lights back on. So I think after I get this science, I'm going to wrap up the episode. Ooh, I'm getting better at this. I'm going to wrap up the episode, and then tomorrow we will have a look at flying to our second destination, repeating the science there, and well, see how far we can push it really. Meet back up with the Prometheus, land again. Do I think four biomes is a good goal before we head back to the planet to cash in the science and do that. So yeah, I'm going to do that unless something goes really good and we like land right next to a boundary of 2 biomes where we can do them at once. I think we are close here to the next biome because we aimed for what was I don't remember, the Highland crater, I think. Did we have that? No, we did not. We aimed for the Highland crater and we ended up landing in the far side crater. So if I can remember where I pointed that first time around, I should be able to go there with a very, very short hop. Right. So we are in the capsule. We have quite... Hey, wait a second. Oh, I wanted to hit transmit on the data, but then I don't think I can transmit the EVA report. Let's see if I can do that. Because even though I'm now confident that we are going to return this science and that it's not going to go horribly wrong, I still want to transmit these data so that, you know, are fail-safe. So let's do that. And hope that it transmits just that one. Yeah, and it does. So we're going to save the rest. And check back tomorrow for the next destination. Let's see where we are here. I think if we go over here, over the rim of the crater, or like this area here, then, and this crater here doesn't have a flag either. Oh yeah, it does. That's the polar crater. If we go, I think we're going to go aim for this bit here, because this is where I think we previously, we did aim, because look, this is the orbital path of the Prometheus. We're going to aim here. It's close. It should be, well, doable in delta V amounts, and we will have a look at that area. Right, this was Lorenzo. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and do all those social things. I like getting the fan mail, comments, and of course the rising subscriber count is always nice. We're currently at 175, which is, well, enough to fill a fairly small theater. So, well, enjoy that little bombshell. That wasn't really that much of a surprise, was it? Anyway, see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.